I've been seeing a ton of video game challenge videos in recent months, and I wanted to take a jab at it myself and see if I could make something out of it while I worked on other videos. This challenge was particularly challenging considering the criteria I had to use. Some of the maps, choke points, and seemingly set spawns for tanks and boomers, and of course, what I will be using as my almost sole means of self-defense. So today, we are asking, can you beat Dark Carnival with only a med kit as your primary weapon? Now here are the rules as we start things off. The difficulty will be set to expert. Here's proof if you need that. The mutation is set to Lone Gunman, where there is only one survivor, being you, and there is only one weapon that spawns the Desert Eagle. And there are only common infected, boomers, witches, and tanks that can spawn. Now why did I pick this mutation? So I have no assisting AI, and so that any common or special infected that hits me will down me with just one hit, making things even more tense. I can only have a first aid kit out during my run, so I cannot use a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, or melee weapons to fight off the horde. I can, however, bash with the med kit, but not use it to heal myself. Keep this one in mind, I can use grenades like the molotov, bile bomb, and pipe bomb, and I can use adrenaline as a means of boosting my speed in tight corners. Pills are usable too, but considering we get downed in one hit, they are pretty much useless unless I take fall or fire damage. But don't worry, someone in the comment section will see me throwing a molly and say, actually used a molotov. You are a clickbaiter and this is fake. You didn't just use a medkit. So, with all of that out of the way,
shit up.
I'm ready to get wrecked. Now, I will admit, the first chapter of Dark Carnival is rather easy to breeze through. As long as you stay on the guardrail and hop the van, a majority of common infected will linger behind you. The most important thing to prevent commons from blocking your path is by keeping a majority of them behind you, as the director can only spawn a finite number of common infected at a time, so speed running through the level is key. I get through the hotel, the riverbank, and up the carnival entrance without any resets or issues. But this will be the only time that things will be easy for me going forward. Chapter 2 has quite a few hurdles and choke points that can cause me a headache or two, or even 4, as you will come to find out. Funnily enough, I didn't learn until right here that playing Lone Gunman on Expert automatically meant any hit you take was an automatic down. What? Holy shit! It's a one hit? Holy fuck! And it was there that I knew this challenge would be oh so much harder. So, as I said, there are a few choke points where if any number of commons, a boomer, or tanks were to spawn at, it would most likely mean I was dead. First of which being the alleyway leading to the rooftops, the ladder to get to the rooftops, and the stairwell near the supply room. Although they didn't cause me too many issues, there was an integral part of the chapter that took me a few times. Waiting for the gate to open on the merry-go-round, I cannot tell you how many times I confronted a tank leading up to this point. But after a few fistings, I got a run where I somehow greased myself up and squeezed through the opening in the fence before the tank could rock my world. Unfortunately, 2 parkour living common infected ruined my momentum and stopped me dead in my tracks. I eventually weaseled my way to the end and prepared myself for the tunnel of tough love. I knew from the get-go the tight corridors and winding hallways would be a bit of a problem. I attempt to surf on the heads of a horde only to fall and break my hip. Twice. I'll be sure to sue this place for very unhip safety hazards. RNG needed to be on my side when entering the tunnel, since if there were one too many infected, I would most likely be downed before I could gain enough speed to outrun them. Going down the hole after the maintenance room proves to be aggravating, as I get OK boomered 3 separate times after descending to have a horde spawn all around me to prevent me leaving the tunnel of love, thus increasing my tunnel vision of hatred. At one point, I Mario jumped my way on the piping to avoid a tank and pushed through to the coaster. Much to my surprise, the horde does not close in fast enough while the coaster takes off, as I use it as a long-distance battering ram to prevent any commons from attacking me from the front. Although 2 still catch me by surprise, they still get pushed out of the way. I conquer my fear of roller coasters and heights and reach the safe room, although I know the hardest part of the campaign is still ahead. Chapter 4 is heavily reliant on RNG, from fences possibly blocking your short route at the beginning, or tanks spawning in awful spots, to needing any type of grenade in order to stand a chance at the endless horde crescendo at the end of this chapter. With how open the area in front of the safe room is, there were a few times where the AI director decided to troll and spawn one too many commons for me to handle, so of course I was incapacitated straight out of the gates half a dozen times. My greatest downfall during the barns was the amount of tank spawns in the most unopportune places. Exiting the barns for the first time, I was face to face with a leg day skipping behemoth. Trying to jump past a mountain of muscle didn't work out so well for me. Another bout into the barn and a tank was already winding up for an all-star pitch. I attempted to climb the ladder to avoid it, but struck out. There was also no lack of heart attack moments as I zipped around corners and faced off against a tank just to get downed instantly. Now I gotta say this, some people say I should use captions to be more aware of any possible special infected spawns, but I prefer the extra challenge of relying on my own hearing over the game hand feeding me the information.
Can I get past him? No, I can't.
On occasion, I would be able to avoid the tank for quite a while, but the dead end that is waiting for the gates to open would put me in between a rock and a tank place.
Please open. Please open. Please, please.
Oh! Having to turn on the switch and attempt to use the rafters to avoid commons would have the tank still use me as easy target practice with his concrete or pure fisting fury. Always keep in mind, if it seems like a tank's rock can't hit you, be prepared anyway, as it can frequently clip through surfaces or even hit areas next to you for a pretty much bullshit kill.
That fucking hit right there! That hit right there, do you guys agree? Yeah, they're nodding their head, yes.
Even when I thought I was in the clear from any awful tank spawns, Gaben made sure to throw one at me at the last possible second before initiating the crescendo event. There was even an instance where I thought I could 1v1 the tank by clearing out the horde with a healthy amount of pipe bombs inside the barn, then light him on fire to watch him burn to death. But after using 2 whole pipe bombs, the horde still overwhelmed me. If I was lucky, I could get a run without any tanks being born onto this world. But even with that, I still needed to position myself perfectly on the rafters. If I stayed in the middle, I was open to attacks from every angle. And since this is Left 4 Dead 2, where your shoves have a cooldown after a while, that simply would not work. So I made sure Coach, with his extra large chocolate thickness, was situated right at the back edge of the rafters. With how Valve programs the infected, if you are able to jump on their heads, they can automatically be killed in a similar fashion to how Mario curb stomps helpless turtles and paraplegic mushrooms. By positioning yourself perfectly on the edge where commons climb up to, the commons could insta-kill themselves simply by touching your feet. I guess common infected aren't in defeat like Roanoke Gaming.
Starting with the feet, we see that not much has changed.
I will be using this strat a lot for the finale. The next part is timing my medkit shoves out to where I wouldn't be stuck recharging while pushing back any horde that came in from my front. Luck definitely had to be on my side, for if there were way too many coming up on top, I would not be able to hold them all off long enough for the gates to open since I would be recharging. Luckily, common infected die after you bash them a few times, but only for 2 or more to replace the dead ones. Each time the gates opened, there was another rousing round of RNG and luck that would have to come into play. I couldn't have too many commons in front of me as I went down this linear hallway, or my speed would be slowed down enough for the horde in the back to ream me from behind. After some trial and error, I get a run where some adrenaline and molotovs spawn, so I light up the area behind me and shoot up some heroin.
Adrenaline.
Amazingly, not a single common was able to bot me as I slipped through their numbers and finally made it to the last safe room.
No fucking way, dude, let's go!
Now is the Thunderdome, a rock concert of mayhem, a test of my patience, and more so, a test on how Valve actually tweaks campaigns according to each mutation's guidelines. I didn't know if the finale would be spawning takes or not, but thanks to the abundance of molotovs, fireworks, and light shows, I wasn't too concerned about facing one. It was more so the relentless, never-ending horde that I was concerned about. When it comes to finales like this, a horde spawns, then a tank spawns, you kill the tank, another horde spawns, you kill that rat tank, and then the helicopter spawns. But with how this mutation works, I really don't know if the tank will spawn. So when it comes to the Dark Carnival finale and how I'm going to tackle it, there are 3 separate locations I like to call cheese spots, where the common infected either are unable to approach you except for very specific angles, or you can funnel them in the easiest manner possible. The first cheese spot I attempt to use is the 3-story tower by sitting atop the ladder, so any commons approaching will either be stuck below me or instantly die as they approach me. Much like the Chapter 4 rafters, I would still have to keep an eye out around me for any commons that would climb from different angles, which I did not do at first, and went down twice due to my cockiness.
What? What? What?
Okay!
What hit me?
I also learned that boomers, despite their stocky appearance, have a long range with their slash attack and could easily down me even while I'm on top of the ladder. I also had to make sure the boomer couldn't get completely on top of the tower, or else its death explosion could knock me off. So more than a few times I had to shove him off for him to climb all the way back up. Maybe we can get a skinny boomer. This method didn't seem to work for me, as commons and boomers somehow always figured out how to hit me. So I decided to change my game plan. During the live stream, chat recommended I use the top of the garage door as it was the spot that common infected couldn't reach. I went to the wrong garage door though, slipped off as it was made impossible to climb on top of, burned myself avoiding the horde, and went to my own cheese spot. My personal favorite being the intersection of 2 guardrails near the most camped area in the finale. For some reason, common infected aren't programmed to reach survivors here, and can only hit them by climbing on top of this fence. So all you really have to do is keep an eye on your back and you're in the clear. After about 5 minutes, my chat and I start to think these cheese spots are breaking the finale and make it where neither the tank nor helicopter will ever spawn. So in order to trigger more of a horde, I attempt to loop the arena a few times and return to the cheese spot, but get stuck on some loading equipment and get down.
See, God damn it! It's not doing anything, man! Oh my god!
I then try and use the chat's suggestion of the garage door and have a proper rock concert, mosh pit included. Rock on, brother! However, due to the commons' erratic movements, they can sometimes slide down the incline of the seats enough to be within punching range, and unfortunately, downed me. The same thing happened in my guardrail cheese spot, where they stumbled close enough to me to smack me off my pedestal.
Oh my god!
I start to get fed up, thinking the finale is broken, and try just pallet looping the arena, but get wrecked doing that as well. I was so angry at the idea of an unwinnable challenge that I quit and accepted the fact that this was impossible for the day. So I started back up fresh the next day with my rage boner now flaccid. Attempting to start again by avoiding the use of cheese spots, I tried running circles again, but failed rather quickly. I tried the tower cheese spot again, but the boomer apparently can scratch you while both of his hands are busy climbing the ladder. Okay, boomer. I went to the guardrail cheese spot, and when I decided to make a run for it with a horde nearby, tried to use a molotov for a safe escape, but ended up cremating myself instead. I went to the garage door cheese spot, got bored, went to the tower, and got swatted down again by the boomer. I was already starting to lose hope again. Another unsuccessful loop, and I go down again. So I said, fuck it, let's just do the guardrail cheese spot and wait as long as humanly possible and just see what happens. As I am running to the arena, I notice a bile bomb in the concessions area, a rare spawn mind you, and decided to fight the straggler infected in the area. After some close calls, as I was crying in the corner, I finally got the jar of green mouth diarrhea, started the finale, and went to the guardrails and patiently waited out the time, keeping a close eye out for any infected that drew too close to me. Halfway through, a friendly boomer took a seat next to me and showered me with praise as the Midnight Riders ended their song with dead silence. A few minutes later, the tank music started briefly, but no tank spawned, and the next Midnight Rider song began.
Okay, so it's just a really slow finale.
Waiting an entire 15 minutes, knocking infected off the fence over and over and over, and watching the equivalent of a comment section debate the legitimacy of this video, I get puked on when the second tank song starts to play. I assumed it would be a repeat of last time, and that no tank would spawn. That was until I turned around and saw a giant silhouette of a man However, he did not want to do the fandango, and it was very, very frightening, as I had dumped my boomer bile on him and ran. As long as I avoided close proximity to him and his projectiles, I was fine to run to the nearest molotov, since the horde would be focused solely on the tank. I Kobe'd the shit out of a molotov, lighting him and his posse up, avoiding him till he turned into a burnt piece of bacon. One last time I got on top of the tower, grabbed the molotov that always spawns there, and awaited the arrival of the rescue chopper. Luckily, it landed near me, so I dangerously lit the area below me on fire to get rid of any infected and bolted for the chopper. Knocking back the last commons, I got in and finally completed Dark Carnival with only a medkit as my weapon. Despite the stupid length of time required for the finale and some horrible tank spawns, I made it through by the graces of Gaben and a few shouting fits to rupture some eardrums.
Woo! Dick! Ow! Oh.
But we did it. So that's about it. I finished the challenge. Did you enjoy this Mitten Squad-esque approach to Left 4 Dead challenges? Would you have preferred I only use a med kit and no grenades? What challenge would you want me to do next? Comment below, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for content possibly like this if it does well enough. Donate to my Patreon or during my live streams to be featured on this list here, where you can be a tank, witch, special infected, uncommon infected, or common infected respectively, depending on how you donate. I also do Why You Wouldn't Survive videos on all types of games, zombie sins, nitpicking all zombie films and shows, and we'll be soon doing a series dedicated to deciphering which zombie apocalypse is the most lethal. I'll also be attending PAX South in San Antonio from the 17th through 20th, so if you're gonna be there, let's meet up. I'd love to meet you. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and like always, I'm Zackass, aka Wild Such Gaming. Don't ever forget to stay well.